right. Starting up here. Let's see if we can get some folks online. Where did my screen go? There we are. All right. Hey, good morning, Check Digits. Good morning. It's Saturday morning. It's December 16th. Welcome to the stream. My name is Jeff Fritz, and I'm a program manager at Microsoft. I like to build the web stuff. That's what I do. How you doing? I'm going to be going over talking about some things in Visual Studio in .NET. And I hope to pair program with you, get some feedback from you. Maybe you learn a couple things. Maybe I learn a couple things along the way. I want to make it clear that I don't know everything, and we're going to learn a little bit together. Some housekeeping before we get going. I've set up a couple things around our live stream websites. If you go to my blog, jeffreyfritz.com/live, that's where you can jump off and choose either one of our feeds. You can either watch me on Mixer, you can watch on Twitch if you'd like. But I encourage you to check that out. Easy way for you to get connected to exactly where I am. You can also go to live.jeffreyfritz.com and you'll get all the information about where we are, where we're going, including now a link to my live streaming 101. That'll tell you exactly how my setup is configured, as well as links to the live stream GitHub. So let me show you what all of that looks like. And my screen isn't showing up. Where'd the screen go? Oh no. See, that's how live this is. It's showing the wrong screen. In fact, it doesn't even see my second screen. That's wonderful. I think I'm going to need to restart here. Give me 1 second here while I restart my software, because I think it doesn't see my second display. It doesn't see the screen that I want to show you. Give me 1 second here. Sorry about that. I started my my streaming software before I connected my streams. So welcome back to the stream. That was fun. I'll have to edit these two videos together since I stopped and restarted. Picking up where I left off. This is live jeffreyfritz.com. Hey, Rich Ross, thanks so much. Thanks a lot, Steve. This is where you can learn more about what's going on with the stream. I have links off now to my live streaming 101 blog post that'll tell you a little bit more about how my configuration is set up. And there's also now a GitHub repository about the stream where I've written up a couple things about what's going on, what we're going to do. There's the same link off to the YouTube archive, and places for you to ask questions. Gosh, what is that, Sinphony, or is that Sin for New York? Welcome, thanks for the follow, I appreciate it. And you can also ask questions here. I want you to be able to ask questions when I'm not streaming so that we know what they are. We can come back and pick up right where you need me to pick up. And I can also leave off at the same place as well. I've got links to the 3 software projects that we're working on: Configuration Builders, Epic Build Music, and The Rundown. So I'll be starting off in our issues over here today and going from there when I get into some of the questions about what's going on the stream. Today's hat, I'm wearing a Penn State hat. This is a hat with their design from a few years ago. I am a Pennsylvania State University alumni. Big fan of the Nittany Lions and their school. I've been asked to come back and speak once or twice to their students. Always a fan of educating the young people in college, and I want to support those folks, so I'm wearing my Penn State hat today. Let's see, what else? What else do we want to get into here? CFN, oh gosh, I don't know how to pronounce that. CFN Die. Welcome, I appreciate the follow coming on from Mixer. I appreciate it. Saturday morning, got to grab some coffee. Where should we start? Let's start with taking a look, see if there's any pull requests that we have out there in our projects. We'll address those pull requests, and then we'll go through some of the questions that I have here and in the live stream repository, and then we'll move into today's code. So I'm going to just control click on each one of these projects and just take a quick peek and see. I know I have an issue over here to update docs around my configuration builders for RSS and unit tests. I want to do a little bit of work on my ASP.NET Core project today, so I don't think we're going to get to these. Over here in Epic Build Music, I don't have any pull requests, but it looks like Check Digits has a reference to a repository here with an improvement on the icon, the PNG icon. It looks a lot better. Let me zoom out a little bit. Let's see what that looks like when it's smaller. Not bad. Not bad at all. I'd like to see these lines a little bit straighter if I'm going to nitpick. Like a straight line. It looks like a hand-drawn line at this point. So, I'll just open a little issue here. Straight line for the top of the note. It appears hand-drawn, and a line tool would make a big difference. No, would be a big improvement. Thanks for the submission there. Don't use a pen to draw the lines. There you go. There's a pro tip from Check Digits. And a thank you from gosh, you've got too many consonants right next to each other. CFN Diet, can I just call you CFN? Or if that's short for something, you know, maybe you can help me out there and I'll be able to reference you. But thanks so much for the follow. So that's, I believe, all we have over here for Epic Build Music today. I'm just using my mouse back button. Let's zoom back in. Nothing new over here today, and this isn't the project that I want to work on today. I want to work on my rundown project, and I still owe you some information here in the README. This is intended, and I think I put a little block here, a little snippet. I can't scroll down any further. Let me see what I can do to move that up. What can I do to move that up? Aha, I can move it over. Fritz Rundown is an ASP.NET Core project that will manage show information for streamers and provide easy browser-based plugins for your video content. So, pretty simple idea there, and it's starting off as just a checklist. Hey, DJ Vortex, welcome back to the stream. It's great to see you again today. So, right now, this is an ASP.NET Core project. It's very, very simple. It's just a task list. But I think today I want to get into actually pulling some of our stream information. See what we can do to get that follower count. You see my follower count way up there in the corner of the screen? I want to make that a total between both Mixer and Twitch, because it feels right now, and I spoke to the folks at Stream Labels. I opened an issue with them, and Binganito, thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. The folks at Stream Labels told me that it is while they call it the total followers count, it is the total followers for a single service. Okay, I can buy that. I think it'd be pretty easy to open that up and make it a sum of the two, and really it's just a number I'm embedding up there. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put together a little bit inside of our ASP.NET Core project that's going to use, I want to use user secrets features. I want to use some HTTP client capabilities to reach out and use the APIs of both Twitch and Mixer to fetch those values. Let's put them in memory somewhere, and let's keep track of that, and then expose it as a very simple MVC view that we'll put right up there. Make sense? What do you think? We can do this. 2 hours, we can make that happen. Now, that's our goal today with the code. I want to go back and just touch on the question that we have out here. Rodin Is it Rodan? And then you've got the two eyes there. Welcome. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate you joining me on Twitch today. I want to take a look at the questions that we have out here. And actually, yeah, let me look at the issue list. If I show you the issue list here, you'll see I tidied up the labels a little bit. I got rid of some of the other ones that were more project management specific, because I'm not managing a real project here, right? I'm managing the contents of this stream. So I narrow things down to an enhancement of the stream, help wanted, something that I want your help with, a question that somebody has for me, and then a scheduled tag. So I'll attach this tag to various issues or questions that I want to address either before or on the next stream. So looking at the list here, if I look at just the questions, I have 4 questions hanging out here. And the one I'm going to address today is, what is the current state and planned future of web forms? Now, this question came to me from Electric Essence on Twitter. Let me open up and show you that question from Electric Essence. It says here, curious what the state future of web forms is as of today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to answer that here on the stream. I'll put together a little sample project and push that back into this repository, and then I'll wrap that up, put it on the blog, and I'll respond to Electric Essence with a link to that blog post. So what is the current state and future of web forms? So ASP.NET Web Forms, that's a project that I manage as part of my day job, part of the things that I do every day for Microsoft. And we have triage meetings every week, and I meet with my team regularly outside of that to plan and discuss what's going on with web forms. Now, web forms, to be clear, let me open Explorer here. Web forms runs out of the system.web DLL, right? System web is what we've been shipping ASP.NET in. I don't have these older versions of .NET Framework on this machine. And you can find it on every machine that's running Windows. It's right there, okay? There's System Web DLL. That's everything you need to run ASP.NET. Now notice I didn't say web forms. To run ASP.NET, I'm looking for, there's my size column. I want to try and get that in here. Come here. I want you over here. There we go. And it won't let me make this size column smaller. Well, that's kind of lame. But you notice System Web DLL here in the web framework, in .NET Framework 2.0, is only 5 meg. If I move forward to the 3.0, KG Betts, thank you for the follow. I appreciate you joining me here on this Saturday morning. Here's the 3.5 framework, and I don't have this version of the framework installed either. I thought I did. Here's the latest version of the framework, and if you come down here and you look at System Web, it's still about 5 meg. But that System Web, and you can see all these things that we started to break out from it, right? To make it a little bit more easier to maintain, because we now have different groups that maintain different portions of this. But that System Web DLL is part of the .NET Framework BCL, the base class library that's installed on every Windows machine. Every Windows machine. That means if your mother-in-law, if your grandmother has a machine that they use and they go out and they browse the web and they write their Christmas cards on it in Publisher or in Word, they check their email, those kinds of things, right? They have this. Is there a lowest version of Windows for that? So the Windows Nano and the versions that'll run on IoT devices do not come with the .NET Framework. But all Windows versions, Windows Home, Windows Professional, Windows Server, they all come with Windows. They all come with this installed on it. You can't remove it. It's part of it's part of Windows. We ship a new version with every version of Windows. Windows 7, etc. .NET Framework has been shipping with every Windows going back to, I believe, Windows XP. So you will see this on every version of Windows that's been released in the 2000s effectively since there was a .NET. DJ Vortex says XP and above had .NET 2.0. Yes, and in fact, we release a new version of .NET with every version of Windows. Okay, so you can see here, this System Web DLL is dated September 29th. I had a pre-release version of the Windows 10 Creators Update, the version that was released to everybody, because this machine runs an insider's build. And the Fall Creators Update came with .NET Framework 4.7.1. So all the updates that came along with that were shipped with this version of the DLL. Programming Zen has a link for us, docs Microsoft.com, blah, 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 migration guide, versions and dependencies. That's a pretty good link that'll show you a little bit about the various versions of .NET that are out there. Now, okay, I've told you a little bit about where this thing comes from. There's kind of a side note that goes along with this, where we release, I believe we call them developer packs, that include the SDKs to attach to and use these .NET Framework versions. So, that's great that my mother-in-law, my grandmother has this installed, but you can't do anything with it in Visual Studio until you light up that additional developer pack, till you install that. And you can get all that stuff, if you'd like, from dot.net, and it'll route you to Microsoft.com/net, and you can go out here and you can download the various developer packs and the various .NET Framework versions, regardless of your version of Windows, or with .NET Core for Mac and Linux. So that's a little bit about where it comes from. Now, the future of web forms, we're going to continue shipping these things with every version of Windows. That hasn't changed. And every time we release a new version, we extend our support lifecycle. And you can see all the versions of, here's the .NET Core support lifecycle, but the .NET Framework support lifecycle, I believe, is also here as well. It's on the Microsoft product lifecycle. And I believe the long and short of it is, you get roughly 10 years where we'll be supporting it, okay? So if we come down here, .NET Framework is a component of the Windows OS, and it will ship and be supported with the Windows OS. So right now, the versions of .NET Framework that we are supporting go all the way back to 4.5.2, okay? These older versions, there's a minor version that supersedes it, that includes patches. We want to make sure that you're on that latest minor version. But the new ones that are out here, we are going to be supporting them as a part of the OS, and the operating system, like I said, is going to be supported for roughly 10 years is the long and short of it. There's like 5 years built in to the initial contract, and you can buy extended support for another 5 if you need it. So, and that's kind of the rule of thumb. There's times and places where we may do something a little bit differently, but the official support policy you can go to and you can find out here. So what's new, what's on the roadmap, what's coming with .NET Framework, and what have we done recently? So let me show you. If you go to blogs.msdnmicrosoft.com/webdev, you will find this is the other blog that I manage, that includes information about different things that we've included. AC Angiano? I don't know how to pronounce that. Cangiano? Welcome. I appreciate the follow. Let's see. Good morning. Is that music to code by? Yes. Gosh, I forgot to highlight. Organic IT is calling this out. This is music to code by playing in the background. This song is called Orange. It's from my friend Carl Franklin. You can get this on his new app, Music to Flow By. You can buy it from his website, mtcb.pwop.com. And it's really great, groovy music that will help keep you focused, unless, of course, you have a chat room full of all your friends that are on the stream and asking you questions and routing you to different places. So I put together this blog post and talking about some of the new features in .NET Framework 4.7.1, including configuration builders and some new providers that we put together for Cosmos DB. Okay. And there's another blog post that has the exact. There were a couple other things that we deprecated and we changed in .NET Framework 4.7.1 around the various providers. So you can check those out. And I encourage you to check them out. A noob question. I work for Microsoft. Yes. Sidwise? I do. I work for Microsoft. This isn't a Microsoft sponsored stream, but they have offered to give me a little bit of social media support when I do go live to announce it to some of our friends out here. Hi, noob question. Okay, we got through that. A Cangiano. Cool. Sideways. Sideways! Oh, that's very cool. Nice, nice handle over there on Mixer from Sideways. So if you're on Twitch and you can't see it, look over there on the video and you'll see the combined chat room. And it might be a little bit strange, but you can, because of the combined chat room over there, you can chat across providers. And I've been thinking about setting up and using Discord as a better chat room for this. Little Andy 77, welcome. I appreciate the follow. Not on here. Let me create a new issue over here. Discord for unified chat. Need to think about Discord for a unified chat experience across streaming providers. All right. And I'm going to label that as an enhancement. And I want your feedback on that. So, .NET Framework 4.7.1, we included, the big feature that we included is these configuration builders. There's another feature in there that allows you to hook up and it's not configuration builders, but allows you to intercept and asynchronously connect, shoot, I forget what we called it, but allows you to keep your state even though you're asynchronously running on the page. That's kind of an interesting thing. If you're doing a lot of async features, you may want to check that out. But I'm going to talk just a little bit about configuration builders here, and especially the big one that I want to highlight that I really like is the environment configuration builder. Cephis, thank you for the follow. I appreciate you joining me here on this Saturday morning. Hope everybody's got a cup of coffee and having some breakfast and enjoying learning a little bit about .NET. So let me show you the environment configuration builder. This I think is pretty cool, because what this lets you do is it lets you build a project. And actually I might have there's that bug again that I keep opening. I might have a project. I don't have one here. Let me start a new project. I have some sample code that does this, but let me just show you what this looks like. I'm going to go not an ASP.NET Core. I want a, where is it? Web. ASP.NET Web Application. There we go. And I'm going to call this Web Forms 4.7.1. Now, I showed a similar sample, and I'll provide a link to it. Yes, I'm going to enable Docker support, because that's where this demo gets really cool. And I'm going to switch my Docker configuration to Windows containers. You can't see the change that I made over there, I don't think, because my Docker thing is off the edge of the window there. You said that as I'm taking a sip. Haha! There, I got you sideways. So I'm going to enable Docker support. So think about this. Docker now has support for Windows containers. You can run your existing applications inside of a Docker container. That means you'll have that packaged application ready to go and run it with the exact same configuration on a Windows server, however you need it, whenever you want it, right? I like to think of Docker images as a cookie cutter. It's something that I can stamp out instances of my application without actually having to configure a whole nother virtual machine and load Windows and go through registration, all that nonsense. This is so much easier to do. So it's going to configure my Docker container here. I've drank too much coffee, excuse me. And there we go. There's the first Pomodoro finished on the music to code by there. So While that's building, I'm going to let that run in the background for a second. I'm going to get rid of some of these extra pages that we have here, because for the purposes of this demo, I don't really need them. I'm going to get rid of even the master page and the view switcher, just because I want to make this really, really simple. So get rid of all those. Content, yeah, I'll leave the bootstrap stuff, sure. You know what? No, I'm going to get rid of them too, because I don't have my my outer HTML that's in that. I'll get rid of the fonts. I just want to make this a really simple demo to show you how this works. And some of the folks have already seen a little bit of this because of the work we've done in the Configuration Builders project. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to right click, I'm going to manage NuGet packages. There we go, over here on the side. I'm going to browse, and I'm going to look for Configuration Builders. Now when you search for it, check this out. Those aren't the ones that we're using here. I'm going to check to include pre-release. These are the ones I want you to check out. See this Microsoft Configuration Builders environment. So we've marked it as a preview because we're still waiting for some feedback before we say yes, it's a final release. So I'm going to add that into the mix here. Yes, I accept those changes, and now it's part of my project. What does that add? So if I'm running, and this should be a .NET Framework 4.7.1 project. Let me look at the properties on the project. There it is, .NET Framework 4.7.1. If you look at the project here, the web config, right? This is the project configuration. I keep saying that. The application configuration file. It adds another section here called config builders, okay? And the purpose of this is to be able to load configuration into your configuration manager that .NET exposes without having to completely rewrite your code, right? You can just add elements here to your configuration file and it'll just work. We load this builder as a profile, as a after the fact, right? We late bind to it and then load that provider, and now any section that I label with using the environment configuration builder, it will apply that too. So I'm going to add a app settings section here, right? App settings is a pretty standard section, and I can start to add settings to this, right? So I can add one key equals let's call it stream key, and the value is hello stream from app settings. Okay, now I'm going to go over here to my default page. Let me open this up. Right, and here's all that nonsense. It's referencing a master page file that doesn't exist anymore. Let me get rid of that. It has ASP content that doesn't exist anymore because I got rid of the master page. Let me get rid of that too. So let's start off with just basic HTML. I'm going to have a body here, and let me use some simple inline C# code so that I can inspect my configuration manager. So let me reference my settings. I can say configuration manager dot app settings. Let me just go get all the keys. Let's actually just call this keys. Okay, so now I have a reference to all the keys that are in there, and now let me just do a for each. We'll call it a key in keys, right? And to be clear, keys is a array of strings. Okay, so let's just do a list around these. All right, and I'm actually, so here's one of those things that people kind of get annoyed with. Not a UL. Let's do it as a definition list, a DL. Okay, and I'll start this again, and at the end of this, I'll do a /DL just so I get a list of what these things are. So now here's where, right, web forms, I got to pivot back and forth between the format of this. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to say definition term, and I'll put my key here. So remember, use the colon when you're going to output things using web forms. That way it's HTML encoded. Okay, you won't run into any issues with cross-site scripting. Right, we'll escape that appropriately for you. Private static, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, okay, whatever. I think we're all right with that. So now, I will put my, my definition, gosh, and this is going to be, configuration manager, app settings, key. And that, that should be the value when I do that. If I finish that off, and now at the end of this, we need to return control to C#. That should do it for very simple output here, right? So let's say h2 my settings. Now, if I run this, I can actually run this inside the Docker container right now. Let's do that. Let's see what happens. I'm going to click Run in Docker. So this is going to build my application, and then it's going to stick it in the Docker container, and then it should open a web browser and allow me to see it. Heyos Engine? Welcome. I appreciate the follow, joining us over there on Twitch. So there you go. You can see it's building that Docker image for me. And then it's going to launch that instance. And Windows containers take an extra second or two to start here. We've done some things to try and optimize that, but we still run into a little bit of a challenge. There's some things in the Windows Nano image. It's not Nano. I'm sorry. Nano doesn't have .NET Framework. This is a Windows Server Core image that's running IIS. And it takes a little bit of time to get started sometimes. So let's see if we can get that started here. And there's code behind me. Run, Docker, run! And let's see, I'm going to move that over here. Haha, now I see you. All right. I don't know. Is it funny when I play games with the chroma key and actually being in the code like this? I think that's kind of funny. It's better than me being embedded as a docked window in Visual Studio. That'd be really weird. Right, if there was a docked window of Jeff. Okay. See, this is taking a long time that first time it starts, doesn't it? And it should just up and get running here for me. Come on, Docker. So it's recreating it, built it. What do I have? Don't I have another one here? Oh, there it is. Encountered errors while bringing up the project. Oh no! What did I do wrong? Cannot start service container. Oh no! Cannot start service container. Matthew 9559, welcome. I appreciate the follow. Joining us on Twitch. Let's see here. What did we do wrong? Let me see if I can do a rebuild. Yeah, it's hanging there. Let me rebuild. Let's see if we can get this to run again. So I'm watching what's going on here. That's a little bit easier to read, just there above my head there. And now did I get dumped over into the Docker window, or stuff's happening over here now? Yep, it's not going to start for me inside the container. That's going to feel really bad. Because that's the cool demo here that I wanted to show. Let me... Walk. Welcome, Walk. I appreciate the follow. To err is human, but to really mess things up, you need an IDE. Well said, Check Digits. My friends on the Visual Studio team would applaud you. Let's do this. I'm going to open a console window, and let me bump up the font size here just a smidge. That's a little bit better. Let me take a look at my Docker images. So now I'm running under Windows, and it has my image. It's right there, Webforms 471 dev, and look at that, 6 gig. Feels bad, man. Docker run IT, and disconnected. Webforms 471 dev And I can specify a name for it, right? With name, yeah, because I'm not. It's a name for the container. It's a tag for an image. And we're gonna call this. Let's call this just stream, right? So there it is, starting. Now I should be able to get a reference to this and be able to actually drill into it. While I'm waiting for that to start, let me check the chat. Calvin, hey, welcome, Calvin. Great to see you here again. I thought about creating a Visual Studio extension that would just be an empty dockable panel just for the webcam. I like what you're thinking. I really like what you're thinking. Here's the thing. Here's where I think we can kind of benefit and we can do something neat here. I think there's an opportunity to do a lot of that, to embed webcams, media players inside of Visual Studio. My hat looks all crooked. It does. It's all crooked. Is that better? Whatever. And see, it takes a while for this thing to start. It's Windows, right? I mean, that internal container is starting all kinds of services and things. Am I getting... That's better light. Alright. And you can see all these other things that I've been building in Docker too. But I like where you're going, Calvin. I think there's a place for us to embed video in Visual Studio. And that's a project that I've been tinkering with and I'd love to make a little bit of progress on. But it's not something that I want to do on stream. It's something that I think I need to do for the bosses. I need to see about that one. This is getting this isn't very interesting. DJ Vortex, I could convert my media player into a Visual Studio extension. Perhaps. Let me do a Docker PS. Nothing's running out there. There it is. Naughty Hoover. Naughty Hoover? Okay. I'm gonna get rid of that. And I'm just gonna show you the demo because I don't want to spend a lot of time doing this. Let me just get right into this. I'm going to turn off. Let me run this over here. Set as the startup. All right. Edge. Firefox. Let's see what we got. All right. So now, so going back to where we were with the configuration builders and the settings, this is going to output just the values that are in my app settings, stream key, hello stream from app settings. Now if I hook up to my environment configuration builder, let me go back over here. I'm going to change my web config, and if I go here on app settings and say config builders equals, and I give it the same name as the provider up here, environment. Yes, stop debugging. It will actually allow me to find a stream key environment variable and replace this value with whatever's in that environment variable. So I'm trying to think. There's some weirdness around the state of Visual Studio and where your environment variables are and how and when it loads it before it'll override that. What I can do, I can add the key. I believe it's computer name is the there's client name. That's the client that's connected, but here's computer name, Jeff's Yoga. So if it's computer name and I have value equals Visual Studio. Let me hide this config builders piece here. Well, I don't really need to do that. I'll just leave it there. So there's the computer name, and it's actually going to override that computer name with the value that's set inside my environment variables with Jeff's Yoga. There it is. So this gives me a way now to continue to reference my configuration settings for my application, but inject them from a third-party source. And what I was trying to show you with Docker and why my machine is misbehaving around its Windows containers is when you start Docker images, you're going to have to recompile your application, or you're going to have to put a PowerShell script inside your Docker image that every time reaches in and grabs things like environment variables, writes them to disk and overwrites your web config and loads it every time. So you're going to have a different web config then for every instance of a Docker container that you start up and run. And that feels weird, because Docker containers should all be the same, right? These are replicas of the same, that cookie cutter, that Docker image that we deployed. You don't want them to be different. So this is a way for you to inject using environment variables. Now that kind of brings me back to the project that we were working on. I'm going to go over here. We were working on Fritz configuration builders that allows you to pull in configuration from other sources. And in fact, now you can load any files. There it is, any files, and use an INI file to load up various parts of your web config. And when you change that INI file, it won't force your application to restart. You're going to have to hard restart your application. The one piece that our friend, I think it's Giancarlo, is working on up here is an RSS-based configuration builder. So now, not only could you not push in environment variables into your Docker container, but you could set it up and say, go to this website over here and pull in settings from that location, and you don't have to rebuild or change anything. You can continue referencing your configuration, and it just works. So that's a little bit about configuration builders and the things that we put into .NET 4.7.1 for ASP.NET web forms. Now, what's on the roadmap? What's coming next? Well, we release a new version of .NET with every version of Windows, and Windows is right now on a 6-month release cycle. That means you're going to see another version of Windows here soon. They haven't announced it yet, but we've seen releases every 6 months. You could pretty well bet that it's going to continue at about that pace. We've got stuff planned for the next version of .NET. Whenever it comes out, it will come out with that version of Windows. Those updates that you're seeing, and folks that are on the insider track for Windows, you're already seeing insider builds with new features for that. We're building some new things in there to allow you, the primary feature that we're pushing out there, in addition to security fixes and enhancements, there's enhancements already in 4.7.1 to deprecate, right, to mark as obsolete anything that uses SHA-1, because SHA-1 was shown to be vulnerable by our friends on at Google, right? They showed SHA-1 vulnerabilities. So we're now seeing, I can hear the fire, I don't know if you can hear the fire truck, but it sounds like the local fire company with Santa Claus is coming around today. So we've already deprecated references to SHA-1 throughout our code when you should be using a stronger version of SHA, and we've also set those newer versions as the defaults. Here, though, one of the key features that we're adding, and we should blog about it when one of the previews comes out here very, very soon, is we're adding dependency injection to ASP.NET. And it's not just dependency injection. We're adding an ability for you to be able to hook the creation of objects in the ASP.NET pipeline, right? So this is the .NET framework, the desktop version that you've seen and you have been using. You're going to be able to hook into that and affect the way that things are created if you so desire. I'll have more documentation and details on that as we get close to it, but the idea is we want you to be able to refactor things. We want to give you the ability to refactor your existing applications so that you can start to move things out into services, moving things out into repositories, so that you can have a more modular ASP.NET experience, and perhaps even move some of those things into .NET Core when you want to make that migration. So we're starting to create this bridge that is going to allow you to take things, your assets that are already in .NET 4.7 whatever, and reuse them in ASP.NET Core. We want to make that transition easy for you. And of course, you can swap out some of those things with features that are really great on the cloud. Let me take a look over here in the chat room. That would be awesome. Yes, it would be. Santa, I know him. Cool! That's great! Will we ever see a .NET 5.0? That's a marketing decision. Maybe. I don't know. The numbering folks, we've added cool new features in these patch release versions. It's my belief that the folks that are managing the version numbers for .NET Framework, they don't follow semantic versioning standards as much as some of the technologists would prefer, but it's up to you. It's up to you how you number things. The Microsoft folks, the marketing folks, they have their own designs on how they want to number and move things forward. I can't really say whether or not there'll be a 5.0. Makes sense that there would be a 5.0 someday, but the past few releases have all been minor version number or patch version number updates. So Matthew 9559, awesome. Yeah, I think so too. So there you go. I will post a link here, and I'm going to put answered in December 16th stream, and I will include a link to the wrap-up blog post with a link to this video to close that out. Looking back at our list here, I'm having a problem with my containers running, so I can't really do this just yet. Discuss targeting a .NET 2.0 standard library and older .NET framework, even if API is in that framework. I need some idea of which API you would like help with, and then I'll be happy to show that. Thanks, Chris, for that question. All right. Let's get into our code. Let's get into our project today. Talking about the Rundown project. So this is an ASP.NET Core project that will help us with embedding content in the stream here. But in particular, the feature that I want to show today, that I want to work on with ASP.NET Core, is calling external APIs, specifically the Twitch and Mixer APIs, to go fetch values, particularly the followers value, and manage that and output that information inside my stream. So I'm going to go back over to Visual Studio. I'm going to close some of these extra tabs here. This one. And we'll stop that. I'm going to go to that other project. There it is. All right. CD dev Fritz Rundown. Let's take a look at my status. Make sure I'm on my dev branch. And Docker server host for Windows. However, the Docker Compose project targets Linux. Would you like to switch Docker to Linux containers now? Yes, I'd love that. Thank you, Visual Studio. That's so kind of you to do that for me. So, for those of you who may not have this installed, Docker sits down here in the tray. I know you can't see it, but there is, in the context window of it, is there a way I can move that over here? Yeah, there you can see it here, just on the edge of the screen. See, it says switch to Windows containers. So right now you can run as either Windows containers or Linux containers. You have your choice of each. Right now it's being configured to use Linux containers, so I have a button here to switch over to Windows. And .NET Core, ASP.NET Core runs great in Linux containers, so that's why I want to use that. It also starts a heck of a lot faster too. And that's just a factor of Linux doesn't have to load a lot of those overhead services that Windows is loading when it first starts up. Alright, so let's take a look. See, I'm going to, here's some of the work we did on our user interface. I'm going to go back over to, where's my control panel, my command line. There we go. I'm going to create a feature branch. I think this is a good practice to create a feature branch so that you can specify when you're working on a feature, everything exists over there so that it becomes easier to merge up without conflicting with any other work that's being done. So I'm going to call this feature, let's call this stream integration. Stream services integration. All right. There's a question from Check Digits. Are there any licensing concerns regarding Docker containers? So if you are running a Windows container can only run on a Windows machine. It cannot run on a Linux machine. And if you are running that container on a Windows machine, whether it's Windows Server 2016 or Azure in the cloud or on somebody else's cloud service, in order for it to be allowed to run on that machine, you will have the licensing already set up and available to you through that server that's hosting it. So the Windows team is doing some work on making that licensing really easy to understand and follow. You can follow up with those services and locations and Windows Server 2016 for information more about how to do that. I'm not really wrapped up in some of the Windows licensing things. You get a number of containers on the server host. I'm not sure if it's the same way that VMs were. You get n number that you can run at the same time. I'd have to do a little bit of research to find that out. So I've created my feature branch here. I can go back over to Visual Studio and I can start working on that feature. So let me just scope this out a little bit here, what I want to do. And I kind of feel bad that I don't have a unit test project yet here. Random dude, I'm guessing? Any relation to the containers and Windows features? Yes, containers and Windows features is that extra layer that you need to enable in order to activate, in order to allow Docker containers to be installed. Yes. Where is Snover when you need him? All right. All right, so let's take a look over here. I want to start integrating this. No problem, random dude. Thank you. I appreciate you joining me here today. So I want to start. How should I test integrating with these streams? Because I want to make sure that I want to put tests around it to make sure that I have a robust handling of those integrations. Let's add a unit test project. Test. There we go. Unit test, not in .NET Framework. I want it in .NET Core. I like XUnit for this. So I'm going to create this. I don't want it in CDev. I want it under Fritz Rundown. Sure. And I'm just going to call it test. Thrice Blinded. I have a Docker blog link that's speaking to the licensing if I can post it. Short version is you can any number of containers on a licensed host. You can run any number of containers on a licensed host. There you go. All right. Tell you what, Thrice Blinded, why don't you, can you drop me a tweet? And even better, oh my gosh, even better, do me a favor, create a issue here on the Fritz livestream GitHub, and I will be sure to attach that to the notes. Actually, put a comment, here you go, put a comment on the bottom of this issue, number 10. And I'll be sure to include that in the notes. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. There you go. Look at that. Pair programming and answering questions together. Feels good. Alright, so I'm calling this just test. The public class, test 1. So in XUnit, each one of our classes is a test fixture, right? And I forget the name. Oh no, we don't have to decorate our tests. Our classes, we put facts on the top of things that are testing. So I want to make sure, gosh, how am I going to design this? I think let's just start writing some code. Because I don't know what I want the API to look like when I go to attach to these different services. I'm gonna set this up. So what should that look like when I try to attach? So is it service equals new Twitch service? And if I pass in some API key equals test, and then say something like service get follower count, right? Int move that down here. And then say something like assert equals 15. Did not report the count we set up. Right, because I feel like there's going to need to be a mock something here. First part of call is to wrap things in a Twitch API client. Yeah. I like calling this, I like that idea. Let's call this an API client. And then I'm going to need some sort of a mock to go through and actually wire up and handle some of these things. I don't know what that looks like, but I think there's going to be a let me take a look and see if there's a Twitch client NuGet package that we can just grab and use, right? Because that would make life so much easier. Oh, utilities for interacting with Twitch APIs. It's Vortex. Thank you. Thanks for the follow. I appreciate it. Twitch lib. There's a Twitch lib? Oh, look at that. And it's got a decent number of downloads. Twitch C# library for accessing Twitch chat and whispers with events, with both authenticated and unauthenticated calls, and pub sub with events. Terrific. I don't have to think about this at all. Let's go give me that thing. Thank you, Fossils. All right, let's see what we got here. Now, is there a project page that has... look at that. Project URL. Let's see. TwitchLib about. TwitchLib is a powerful C# library. Blah, blah, blah. Below are descriptions of it. Handles chat and whisper Twitch services, complete with a suite of events that fire for virtually every piece of data received from Twitch. Helper methods also exist for replying to whispers or fetching moderator lists. I don't need to do that just yet. I want to just get the follower count. Supports all documented Twitch pub subtopics. Maybe? I think this one, Twitch API. That might be where we're looking here. Is there follower here? Here we go. Helper methods on Twitch client for emote only, follower only. Nah, follower only, no. There's follows there under Twitch API. Follower service. Service for detection of new followers in somewhat real time. Fantastic. That's what I'm looking for is... So what? Services... So where's services? How do I use services? For complete library, view the Doxygen docs here. Implementing. So Twitch username and access token. I'm going to need to put an access token somewhere, huh? On join channel, on message received. So this is the Twitch client. Twitch API, need a client ID and an access token. Okay, so I'm going to need a Twitch API key. There's get user followers async. That's what I'm looking for. That looks right. And then pub sub. Right, pub sub, I'm guessing I'll be able to receive some information about when folks start following, right? Let's take a look at this. Ooh, nice. Send topics, listen to chat, listen to bits events, video playback, whispers, subscriptions. I want to listen to follows. Is that here also? No. On ban. Oh, nice. I don't have that problem. We've all been behaving. I don't. No, following file. No. Right, because I want to be notified when the follower count changes so I can add that. Get followers async. I don't want to set that up as like a timer and just hammer it, right? I feel like I'm going to burn through my API count if I start doing that. Let's see what's in the list of API calls. So follows. Oh, I guess we can create a follow. Get followers, string channel. So it'll give me the complete list. So it feels like I'm almost going to have to sit out there and poll every few seconds to go fetch these values. That's not terrible. It's also not something... There we go. Fantastic. Thank you. This also doesn't feel... I mean, okay, we can do this. We can do this. So... I'm going to copy that block of code. I don't even think I need this unit test here just yet. Run this from Azure function, then pop it into DocumentDB. Oh, I like where you're going there. That's very interesting. But, and that'd be great for running in the cloud. Absolutely, that would be great for running in the cloud. I have a couple more ideas and goals with this that I want to, other features that I want to be able to do with this API, right? Like I'd like to be able to replace that event list over there, have it be something running in my own container, right? Because I'm a web guy. I want to be able to tune and use my own display and some of that information. So while Organic IT is right, I can do that. I want to just put this into a Docker container and start it locally and not have it hanging out there on Azure Cloud. We'll do some other things with Azure Cloud, but this one's not it just yet. And trust me, I've got some cool ideas, things we can do with the cloud, like that pesky Nightbot. What's it gonna take to build a bot that runs in the cloud, stores information in DocumentDB and some other places, and answers questions about what's going on the stream or some other things that I've answered? So I think there's an opportunity for that. For this, just maintaining a number, maintaining a list, I can just do this inside the container. So I'm going to go over to, I think I can do this inside of a, do I do it inside of a controller or inside of some other class that I have run as a service and run in the background? I think I want to have it running in the background as as a running service. So I'm going to add another folder here, and I'm just going to call this services. And I'm going to add a class, and I'm going to call this Twitch service. There it is. All right. Now, if I remember correctly, there is a new API. There it is. Inside of ASP.NET Core 2 called iHosted Service. Now, iHosted Service, when you register it, will start and stop asynchronously and be hanging around in the background for the duration of the ASP.NET Core service. So the web server is running, and you can be listening and doing things appropriately. So I have my Twitch information. So let's just say start Twitch monitoring, and we'll write that later. And when it's told to stop Twitch monitoring. Alright, so now I can move these off into other methods that are going to do exactly those things. Alright. And in fact, let's move this down. So I'm just going to do Alt down and move that down here. I want start before stop. That's better. Alright. Not all code paths return a value. Fine. Excuse me. I'm fighting a little bit of a cold I've been dealing with for the past little bit. My bad. JoeBun44, I think you need to pull the followers list, but you only need to get like the latest 20 on each call to detect new followers. Yeah, I think you're right. I also want to get the count of those. So let me control dot on this. No, don't do that. Let's make this an async task. We will make this an async task. Need a space in there. That feels better. And, yeah. Alright. What's next? Well, I have that little bit of code. And that API was a static class. The Twitch lib NuGet has a follower service class that basically does it. Really, Fossils? I didn't see... Where's follower service? I didn't see it in the docs here. Let's take a look. Services? Follower service. Hey! I see a timer, channel data, channel identifier. So it takes in a Twitch API, check interval in seconds, query count. Hey, look at that. Start service, stop service. That looks familiar. Set channel by name, set channel by channel ID. Alright, let's use this. Yeah. Alright. And Twitch lib services, follower service. Yep, I'm on that location. It isn't documented, yeah. So, let's see what we can do to use this then, instead of having to carve up and figure out these things. So, I'm going to remove this code. And I'm going to start and let this follower service run in the background then. So, let's say service equals new what was it, Twitch lib services. There's the follower service, and then here's all those all the things to pass in and identify myself. So it wants me to pass in a Twitch API. All right. Now that wants a client ID and an access token. It's not required, so I'm not going to pass it in yet. I have a feeling I'm going to need that, though. Let me create this service. I'm going to create this as a property. So it's right there. Service for connecting and monitoring Twitch. That's better. All right, so sure. So now if I say service, what options do I have here that I can use? I can get the count. Okay, I could say start service, stop service. Well, there you go, on new followers detected. If I say start service, what's that? That's awaitable. Okay, so let's do that. Let's await start service. Now, where do I need to be able to pass in my channel ID here somewhere, right? I guess that would be in the client ID, or yeah. Let's take a look at the source code. When it does the API follows get follower async channel data query count. Where is set channel by name? I think that's it right there. Okay, so let's do that before we start the service. Let's say, I'm assuming that's when you do this, right? Service set channel by name. C# Fritz. And actually, I should pull that from configuration, shouldn't I? All this talk about configuration, I should really pull it from there. So I'm going to create another section here. I will call it stream services. Come on. And there we go. Now, come on now. I want that nicely formatted. And I'm going to want mixer. And it's the same thing. All right. Now, if you haven't done configuration before with this, with .NET Core, you can reach down and access all of these by using colons to separate the values. So if I take into my service here, if I create a constructor, and if I take in an I configuration, that O does not want to be lowercase. There it goes. Right. And if I save that off, yep, generate a read-only property. So now I have reference to the entire configuration of my application. I could say here, configuration, and then reference that key and walk the chain here. So it's going to be stream services, Twitch channel. So it would be stream services, Twitch. Banderge, thank you for the follow. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. But welcome. I appreciate you following me here on this Saturday morning. And thank you, Steve, for letting us know we're talking about developers today. So that's one way that I can reference and reach down into it. Missing a comma between Twitch and Mixer. Am I? Yep, you're right. There we go. Thank you. I appreciate see that pair programming with with a bunch of my friends here on stream pays off. So now I'm pulling that channel name and I'm setting that here. I have a feeling I'm going to need to put my API keys in here as well. And API keys, that's not something that I can share with you here on stream, and it's not something I want to check in to source control, but I want to check and make sure this thing works properly before I go and start figuring out if I need that. When I want to stop, let's see, is it await service dot stop service? Nope, it's just a void, so I don't need to do that. Okay, so I can return task dot completed task. Right? Mm-hmm. What are you upset about there? What's that await? What's that return upset about? Is an async method that returns task. A return keyword must be followed by an object expression. Yeah, I'm returning task completed task. Pain in my neck. Coding behind your head. Ah, code's behind my head. There it is. Doesn't like that. Yeah, task, completed task. It's a get. What did I do? Right, no, it's not that. And not yield. I guess I could do that. But it still doesn't like it. Remove the async. Yeah, if I remove that, while that works, I think we're all right then. Jamid, thank you. I appreciate the follow. Task from result. Well, right, and I could put 0. But it is complete. I just want to say it's a completed task. So I think that kind of works. Alright, so that should do what I want. I was never a fan of code behind. Well, it's code behind my head. Right? It's a whole new thing there. So. Alright. Let's, I got an idea. Haha! Now the code's never behind my head. It's over there. Or up there. Alright. Let's see. So now it's monitoring, and I should be able now to attach to the service. Right? I don't want to return that. And I don't really want to return anything here. Let's see, what can we detect? Not services, service. Query count, I guess that gives me the follower count. Let's see. I think this gets registered as a singleton. If not, I can force it. This is a code beside. Well played, DJ Vortex. Yes, it's code over there. So let's create a property here. Let's make it a static current follower count. Just get set it. That's an int. See, I can't make it a byte, otherwise I'd have an overflow, right? Looking at the see, make it an int, and hopefully we have an overflow someday on that. All right. So I can now say this dot. Do I really need to do an interlocked? No, the start is only happening once, so I don't have to do it that way. I can say current follower count equals service query count. I should be able to do that because this will only be triggered once. What I will need to do, service on new followers detected. In this event event, I'm going to need to actually do the interlocked here. Even though there's only one of these, I want to protect myself. So, ooh, look, and there's even a argument set there. What's in that argument set? Channel data. There's the query count and the list of new followers. Gotta remember that for later. That's interesting. For now, I'm just going to do an interlocked, not add, exchange, and it's an int. So it is ref current follower count, and the new value is e query count. Now, why is this upset at me? Property or indexer may not be passed as an out or ref parameter. Feels bad, man. Fine. Now, how do you feel about that? Interlocked exchange. We need a semi at the end of that. Thank you. So that should get me my follower count and log it into this property, right? Sounds about right. Let me go into my startup and let's register this service so that it starts. So I'm going to say services add singleton, services Twitch service. That should work. Now by default in ASP.NET Core 2.0, the configuration object, the I configuration, is loaded into the dependency injection container, and that was actually something that yours truly made a point of in many demos that I was giving, and the team decided to include it because a lot of folks were doing it. It just makes sense. You want the configuration to always be available. Now, how do you register that service? Fortunately, we wrote a blog post. So I'm going to look for ASP.NET Core I hosted service. Implementing I hosted service from Steve Gordon. Here, implementing background tasks. Cesar de la Torre, good friend of mine. There we go. So we add it as a singleton. Implement the interface. Yes. Where is it we actually register it to be? Web host create, use shutdown timeout, blah, 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 blah. Where is it that we actually tell it to start it, or is it just started automatically? When you register it, .NET Core will call start async and stop async during application start and stop. Oh, so I don't have to do anything else. Just implementing that interface and referencing it just does it. Fantastic. All right. See, I knew it was out there. I just hadn't done this in a while, you know? Okay. So I have my Twitch service, so it should be listening. I should be able to get that information. Let's add an MVC controller. Yeah, I'll just add controller. I'm going to make it an empty controller. And we will call this, I'm going to call this followers controller. Because I'm going to put all my followers information in this one. There we go. Now, I could return an action result, but it really is just an int that I'm returning. So I'm just going to return an int when you navigate to followers. And I'm going to go to, well, I should be past, I want to be past that service. So let's create a constructor here. I'm going to use the CTOR snippet. And when I tab, Visual Studio completes this for me. And I'm going to receive the... Hey, Alpha Reaver, thank you for the follow. My Twitch service, and I will call this, let's just call it Twitch, right? And I will say this dot Twitch service equals Twitch. And let's create that property. Yeah, it's a read-only property. It doesn't need to be modified outside of the constructor. So then I just want to return, I don't need this, but I can say Twitch service dot current follower count. And let's see if we actually get something coming out of that. So, because I'm returning an int from this MVC controller, it's not actually returning a view, it's more of an API controller at this point, and we can format it a little bit later. 3V, thank you for the follow. I appreciate you joining me over there on Twitch. Alpha Reaver is over there on Mixer. I really appreciate it. And here's another thing that I wanted to work on also at some point. My follower count, see the follower count is a little bit different between the two up top. I have the goal bar there that is filling up. When we get to 500 followers on Twitch, I'll host an ASP.NET Core workshop on here for you live. My follower count is a little bit off from that. That follower count is only on Twitch, and it hasn't updated. It hasn't saved the new value yet here, because I've actually got two different things running that are collecting it. There's a web service collecting those. It's at Streamlabs. And I've got this other app that's sitting over here. Let me drag it onto the screen so you can see it. Called Streamlabels. And this just sits here in the background polling and doing exactly what I'm trying to code. There we go. A Grifford. I'm right? Or Ag Rifford. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. And I want to sum those two so that everybody gets credit for this. And I don't get states like this where the values are two different things, because that feels bad. That looks weird. Let me check out what's going on over here on Mixer while I'm thinking about it. So Mixer's console also doesn't update live for you. You have to give it a little bit of a push. And it also doesn't work in Internet Explorer at all. Firefox, not so much. So, hey 3V. There we go. Cool. All right. And it doesn't give me numbers. It just gives me a graph on the Mixer console. And that looks kind of weird, too. But we're web developers. We can do this. IE, yes. There's folks out there with IE. And Edge. I gotta say Edge. The bosses want me to make sure Edge works. I actually got a phone call from one of the bosses when I first published that live.jeffreyfritz.com site, complaining that IE and Edge didn't present the page properly. So I had to go back and I had to get it working properly so that my supervisors could see things properly in the company browsers. Edge is not too bad. Edge, they've done a pretty good job trying to make it faster with JavaScript. There's more tuning that needs to be done there. I'd really like to see Edge be able to be deployed from the store so that they could deploy and keep up with the pace of change of the web without having to wait for Windows. The same reasons that we broke out .NET Core from .NET Framework. So we can update just our compilers and our tools as fast as the web changes. Alright, so I've got this here. It should be returning my follower count, assuming everything's running properly. I'm not going to run it in Docker here. I want to run it right directly on the operating system. Let me see what this looks like. And I'm going to be making some phone calls a little bit later today. Going to be reaching out to some of the friends and see if we can nail down who our guests will be this week on the stream on Tuesday and Thursday. Alright, so that was at, what was the location we went to? /followers. Let's see if I go there. What do I get? I get a big fat 0. Why aren't you guys following me? No. I'm willing to bet I'm doing something wrong here. Vlad, 2135, thank you for the follow. I appreciate you joining me here on this Saturday morning. I'm assuming it's Saturday morning where you are. With a name like Vlad, you may be chiming in from Europe. Be a little bit later in the afternoon or early evening. But thank you for joining us. Let me see here. Gosh. Let's put some breakpoints in here and take a look and make sure this thing is starting properly. Make sure I'm not getting any errors in this thing starting. So I'm gonna let's put a breakpoint here and see what we get. So I'm gonna restart the application, and I believe it's that's browser link. There's the restart. We got too many circles here. Gets confusing. .NET Core, love the .NET Core. You're in Moscow, 7 p.m. Thanks so much for joining us from Moscow, Vlad. I really appreciate you tuning in. CJ Aliaga, thank you for joining us. I appreciate the follow, and Steve does too. All right, so that I didn't hit a breakpoint when it hit this for my start here, right? Let me do a rebuild, because it doesn't look like it actually started my service. I know the documentation we saw said that it should just start and connect for me, but it doesn't look like it did it. So let's start this one more time and see if we can get that to connect. Actually, Vlad, I had an interview to come speak at an event in St. Petersburg, I believe. Last year it was at the same time as Build, and this year there's like a family event that's at the same time, and I'm not going to be able to do that again. But I need to get into Eastern Europe a little bit more. I want to make sure that I visit some of the folks out there. The question from Joe Bun: did you register the iHosted service with the DI? Yes, I did. Actually, it is right there. Add singleton. So it should have added that, but it doesn't look like it did, because it's right. It's not coming down into this. It should have even created it right there, but it doesn't look like it is. So, yeah, no problem, Jobon. So I'm not quite sure where my disconnect is here, because that explains why I'm getting a 0. Is that start was never called. I registered the service. I thought there was something that I needed to call to start the service. Let me close some of these other ones here. Right? ASP.NET Core, iHosted service. There it is. And I'm going to go to the source here. I'm going to go to the blog that my friend Glenn Condren, if you joined us here on Thursday, Glenn jumped on and was an interview guest for the last little bit of the stream while we talked to him to test out my interview here. Configuration as a core service, create the default builder, build, logging changes, Kestrel hardening, automatic page and view, tag helper components. iHosted services, an implementation of Cube background work item that allows a task to be executed on a background thread. Cool. Processing messages from a message queue in the background. So it doesn't actually say. If you register an iHosted service, ASP.NET Core will call start and stop methods of your type during application start and stop, respectively. So why didn't it call it? Right, there it is registered. And look at that, it moved my Solution Explorer back over here. And it's not creating it. Right, but when I reference come here, go to followers, now it's creating it. Now it looks like it's actually, but it doesn't call the start. Register is an I-hosted service interface. Are you suggesting that we need to not just add singleton, but do we need to say I-hosted service like this? Andy M. Doyle, thank you for the follow. I appreciate you joining us here from Twitch. Gosh, did somebody tweet that I'm out here streaming? We're getting a bunch of folks joining us here late. Let's see. Oh, I actually see a couple VPs that started to follow me here this morning. Live stream from Rajesh. Cool, thank you. Mixer retweeted me. Hey, cool. All right. Thank you, everybody, for the retweets and the howdy doos over there on social media. Let's try that one more time, saying add singleton, like that. There we go. That's what we wanted to see, right? Right, folks? We wanted to see... Oh, look at this. My channel was shared on Twitch Lib's Discord channel. Cool. Well, thank you. We'll give this a shot and see what we're able to accomplish. So it's starting the service. Oh, now I've got a stack trace. All right. All right, so now I can find out what I'm doing wrong. Ship it. Not yet, dude. Not yet. Almost there. Let's scroll up here and see what the error is we threw. Error. Thank you. I want to look at my log. And I don't know if you can hear it, but my dog is downstairs. She's quite upset. All right. I get it. I wish I could tell this log. Pause. Oh, you know what it is? It's browser link reporting in the background. I wonder, does it dump that into my output window here? It does. I want to see. I'm gonna use the frickin' sledgehammer here is what I'm gonna do. Highlight everything and copy out and put it into every developer's favorite IDE notepad. Check Digits. This stream is fast becoming a must-see coding stream. I really think I'm onto something. Thank you, Check Digits. I appreciate the kind words. Honestly, this started on a lark almost. The week before Thanksgiving. Some of you, like Check Digits and Bruno. I haven't seen if Bruno's here today. You've been with me for a while. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. All the folks that are in the chat room. I appreciate your comments, your follows. Let your friends know if you think this is valuable. Like I said, I'm writing code that is going to help me. I want to answer questions that help you, and I think this is a great way that we can learn together, right? I hope it's clear that I don't know all the things here, and as I get closer to other releases and things that we're doing at Microsoft, with the boss's approval, I'll share some of those things here with you. I have had some folks say, hey, you should syndicate that stream to Channel 9. This isn't Channel 9. This is me just talking to you, right? Just a couple of friends and a couple of folks that I will bring in to talk about different features. And yes, I do have a request in with some of the folks that I want to try the Visual Studio Live Share feature that we saw at Connect as soon as that's available. So let me take a look. The Twitch lib, let's take a look. I know you guys were talking about this. What am I missing here? All API calls require a client ID or an OAuth token. There's where I'm running into a problem. All right. Check Digits, a lot more approachable than a very polished presentation, and all the better for it. Coders hanging out coding. Yes. And in fact, you know what we need to do? I'm going to put down another issue here in the live stream. I want to add live events page, right? List on The stream services. This repository, my blog, all the times and locations of my live presentations. There you go. Interactive for the wind. Yes, absolutely. And I haven't done yet. I need to send an email to my buddies on the .NET Rocks podcast. I mentioned the other day I'm going to be a guest Tuesday afternoon. We're going to be recording. If I can get their permission, I would like to simulcast it here on the stream. They may not grant that, and that's okay if they don't want to, because they want to make sure that their advertisers get their due. But if they do grant us that, I will share that Skype call here if I'm allowed to do it. Please don't pressure the guys, but if we can do it, great. If not, I'll be sure to give you guys a link over to that interview. All right. So, yeah, I want to make sure that you guys have access to me when I'm out and about. So I'm missing my client ID, right? My error here indicates, let's unwinding Jeff's internal mind call stack, and that's weird, right? You got a call stack in your mind, you got to unwind back to where we were. I don't have a client ID or an OAuth token for the API, so that wasn't entirely clear here in the usage of it, but it was clear that it's optional. It's available to be used out there. Now, if I'm going to go out and get an API for Twitch, I believe that means I need to sign in to the dev side of this. So is it dev Twitch TV? There we go. And I'm already logged in. There's my C# Fritz up there. New Twitch API, sell your game. My applications, yes. So I should be getting a client ID from here. My OAuth redirect. Okay, so let's call this Fritz stream rundown. OAuth redirect URI. You'll receive the result of it. Blah 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 blah. Sure. Application category. Website integration. Sign me up for the Twitch. Yeah, sure. This field is required. Oh, feels bad. All right. Localhost. OAuth. I don't know. I'm not actually going to use that. I just want my client ID, right? Swifty Spiffy. Hey, thanks for coming back, Swifty Spiffy. Now there's a client ID. Now, I'm going to drop down off screen here. I can't drop it down off screen because it's on the... I'm going to copy that. The secret, I don't... This will immediately activate your existing secret. No, I don't need to do that. I just need my client ID. Alright. So now I should be able to... Now, client ID is okay for me to share. It's the token that I need to worry about. So I'm going to just paste that in. That's not right. This value. All right. Paste that in there. So now I have a client ID. So I need to grab that client ID and pass that in here. And I believe, we're going to need to stop this. So there's client ID. And I'm going to grab that from my configuration. So this, but instead of channel, it is, oops, client ID. So now let's see if that works. And I'm going to remove some of these breakpoints. 3V reminded me that I should sign up for updates on the live shared. Yes, absolutely. Sign up for live updates. You can sign up to be notified when that happens. Build errors. Uh-oh, what did I do wrong? I'm missing a parenthesis, and it's somewhere. Ah. There we go. give that a shot now. And all right, so let me go over to my follower count. Unable to resolve service for type Fritz rundown services Twitch service while attempting to activate followers controller. So here's what I'm missing. So I registered when I not that one. When I registered my service, right in the startup, I registered it as an I-hosted service. But it's a now I don't need the implementation factory, but I want to get the Twitch service, and when I try and get that, it's giving me, it hasn't been created. It's been registered with the other type, so it isn't able to resolve and find that type. Atoms is pretty good. Oh, the Atom code share is pretty good, but I prefer VS Code overall. Yeah, Visual Studio Code is really good. Those of you that haven't tried it, it is very nice. I have Visual Studio 2017, so I prefer using Visual Studio, the full version here on Windows. Maybe we'll get into using code one of these days, and we'll use that a little bit more. So I've added that singleton, but how do I reference and pull back that service so that I can get at it when I want to? Let me go back over. No. Make your own interface iTwitch service and register it. That's not a bad idea, Hayos Engine. Hayos Engine? Alright. That's not a bad idea at all. But I want to make sure that it uses I want to make sure that it does get registered as a hosted service. So, I mean, let's create that interface. iTwitch service. I'm not going to put anything in it. Right, if I do that, yeah. Right, let's go back over to startup, and I can change this to iTwitch service. And now I can also remove that. Right, let's see if that works properly. Okay, so I don't see any ugly errors in here yet. Let's see what happens when I refresh this. Nope. You know what? My controller is asking for a Twitch service, but I need to request the iTwitch service. Let's restart and give it another go. Build errors. Well, that doesn't line up. This should be an iTwitch service, and that doesn't have a follower count property on it. Let's just create a read-only property on that interface. There it is. Int current follower count. Yes, it does. It's right. Oh, it's a ooh, look at that. Well, it doesn't need to be static anymore. Which also means I don't need the incremented exchange. Right? No, you know what? I think we do need that incremented exchange. But let's make this an internal property. Let's make that static. And then let's create current follower. And just return that. Hey, I thought I put that. Let's do this. Looks good. So I want to use the incremented there so that when I'm in a multi-threaded scenario and I'm off thread, when I've got competing threads trying to do the same thing at the same time, in case there's that type of scenario that happens, I want to make sure that they properly gain access to and update that integer that's going to be out there statically available. Yeah, interlocked. There we go, and I still get a 0. I think who is it? Hey Ascension. I think our idea of using a iTwitch service didn't quite work. Maybe if I include iHosted service, right? If I just go down like that. Give that one more push. DJ Vortex, is there an option in Visual Studio to always launch the browser debugging session, always in a new window? I don't know. Still zeros. Let's take a look. No. Browser? Internet Explorer options. No. Yeah, the nasty error. Okay, the nasty error's gone, but no, I don't see an option to reuse the editor. The browser. Launch settings JSON. Launch browser equals false. Well, that'll prevent you from starting the browser. Hey Ascension. You've got something there. Am I passing the client ID into the API object? I am. What's happening is it's not actually starting. Check this out. So I'm going to put a breakpoint right here and start Twitch monitoring. And when it's, because I'm running into this issue where I'm registering the service. If I register it as an iHosted service, it'll launch. If I try to you probably need to register it twice with the same instance. Yeah, okay. Okay, let's do that. So I'm going to get rid of this interface. Actually, let's get rid of this interface. Registering things twice with the DI feels weird, but let's give it a shot. So I'm going to, if I add it as a singleton here. Okay. If I see, I'm trying to think, where do I dock it? Where do I put it so that it's just always there? And if it's in the DI and it's a singleton, then ASP.NET will manage the lifetime of it. Right? If I say if I say services, add singleton, right? I can specify the type, and I can specify the instance. I can actually say, there it is. I can also specify that implementation factory. A singleton service of the type specified in service type with a factory specified in implementation factory to the specified iService collection. So maybe I have another class that actually manages it. The factory that creates the service. var instance equals, yeah. So here's my challenge, Joe Bun. If I do that, so what Joe Bun is suggesting is that I do something like this. Var Twitch, let's just call it service equals new services Twitch service, right? And I'm showing this just a little bit. Often I want to keep my debugging browser separate from anything else I have running in the background. I always have to drag the newly opened tab out to its own window. Such a drag. Oh, very punny. I get it, DJ Vortex. Yeah, you can turn off launching the browser. You can tell it not to do that if you'd like. But to finish the question here about how should we register this, if I did services dot add singleton I hosted service, and then I specified the actual instance is this thing. See, I'm going to run into an issue here where this service is going to go out of scope here, and we're going to end up with a memory leak. That's bad. Right? What are my other overloads that I can do there? There's the implementation factory. A factory that creates the service. No, I don't want to do that. It's safe in DI. You think? I'm going to take your word for this. So I'm going to go then and I can pass my configuration into that, right? Yeah. So you're telling me I can do this, and I can add that as a singleton and point to this, and I can also say add singleton Twitch service. That'll give me would that give me two instances, or? That'll give me 2 pointers to the same with 2 different types, right? Let's hit F5 and see what happens. Build error. No. Type or namespace I Twitch service. Go away. Don't need that anymore. And I can remove that. I do need that. There it is. Cool. Go again. So we'll now get GC'd. Maybe. Let's see what happens. Did I hit a breakpoint in my code? Yes, I did. So all right. So where was who was it was asking about? Am I passing it? Swifty Spiffy. So there I am. I've hit my follower service. It's starting, and I am passing my client ID in there. Let's just to make sure. I'm going to quick watch. There, it's got my client ID value. Good. Go. So it looks like it's started. All right. Go back here, and I'm going to refresh my followers. There we go. That's the wrong number. That's the number of... That's not my total follower count. I said query follower count. I want my total follower count. Yeah, it will not get GC'd. Right. All right. So I'm hitting the wrong property, it looks like. So let me go down here. So service query count. I think query count is the number that I'm querying at a time. I want to get the total number of followers. Is it under channel data? That's a string. Let's see. Let's go back to the documentation. See if we can figure out. No. How do I know how many followers? So most recent followers. So there was a message that was put in the chat that some of the folks from the Twitch Lib Discord jumped on. How do I know how many total followers I have from the follower service? Query count seems to be the amount of results returned in the response. Right, so it's query count looks like it's a page size. Right. Come here, you. Yeah. That's not going to work for what I need. I need to find... Presenting number of recent followers that service should request. Okay. Are you interested in just getting your follower count? Yes. Perhaps the follower service is not what you're interested in. Okay. At some point I do want to be notified of the new followers so that I can replicate the features of the event list over there, and so that I can increment my total follower count. So I think I want the follower service combined with something else. Something to get that initial count that I can start with when I first start my service. Here's the current count, and then have the follower service hanging out there and increment that count when we get new followers. I think that's where we want to go with this. So what do you think? Right? Do we have something that'll do that for me? I think you want to use Twitch's webhooks to get real-time new followers, and then use TwitchLib's API, get follower count to get the actual count. Give me 1 second. Oh. All right. I will take a quick look around here. Okay. I know there's a thing there for the webhooks. I know they have webhooks to push that kind of thing. And I think there's webhooks for ASP.NET Core. A way to hook that in. Let's see. Nope, that's not where I want to be. I want to get the information about the follower count. First batch. Wait, TwitchLib, Twitch API, channels V5, get channel followers async. There we go. Look at that, DJ Vortex. Let's give that a shot. That's a first batch. Okay, let's give that a shot. So that was, let's key it in, TwitchLib, Twitch API. Ooh, I'm toast at that point. Excuse me. If I say Twitch API and try and dot into that, I'm a little bit lost at that point. I found that lurking out in Bing land. Haha! Alright. So let me see if, is there channels here? Can I jump right into that? Channels. V5. Oh, and then I'm toast at that point. Get channel followers async. What's V5? Is V5 a class? That is a class. Alright. So let's do this. Equals. Do I new that up? There's no argument given that corresponds to the required. I need to pass in an API. Alright, so let's move. Let's move that. Yep. Sure. There we go, and I will pass in my API. Haha! Alright, so now can I say v5? It's not a static class anymore like it is in that example. Okay. So I could say get all followers async with my channel ID, which is this. Right? And that is a task that returns a list of channel follows. Okay. So let's call it that. Equals await. Cool. So now I should be able to say current follower count equals follows. Now that's a let's say follows first. So I get the first one. Oh, is this everybody who's following me? So can I do follows dot count? Huh? Let's give that a shot. So then I would want to do not an exchange on the query count, but I would want to do when a new follower is detected, I'd want to do interlocked dot increment. Oh, I gotta specify. There we go. Let's give that a shot. That feels like it makes more sense. I'm using a thing to just go query the API and say, give me that count. Oop, maybe not. One or more errors occur. Your request failed because either your client ID was invalid, not set, your requested username when the server was expecting a user ID, your client ID was invalid, not set. Well, wait a sec. Okay. Or I requested a username when the server was expecting the user ID. Okay. So that kind of makes sense that I've not formatted this properly. I read a good bit of the code and lurked on the Discord. V5 uses user IDs. User ID is not my channel name. It's that. It's not. Right. It's that ID number. Now it says channel ID. But the V5, when I knew it up, is asking for an API. My user ID is... How do you know my user ID? And where did you get the user ID? How do I know that that's my user ID? Is that lurking somewhere out here on... Channel ID and user ID are the same. Okay. Profile settings have been saved. I didn't save anything or change anything. How do I know? Excuse me. Oh my gosh. I don't see that number anywhere. Right, where do I get that 969? Chrome, Google, Web Store, Twitch username and user. Helix users. Ah, look at that. You're going right to the API. Okay. All right. Let me try going there. That was API, Twitch, TV, Helix, users, login equals C# Fritz. Bad request. Must be made over SSL. Feels bad, man. Must provide a valid client ID or auth token. Piss off. Is that 969 me? Is that really me? Otherwise, I'll just key that in. Because that feels weird that I've got to specify both of these things. Nine 6909659. So that was here. Let's try that. Excuse me. My decongestant is stopping working. And breakpoint, alright. Did I hit an error up there? Nope, no error. Alright, go away. There we go. That's the number we wanted. That feels better. Sure, JSON-P support was dropped from it. Alright, so I've got that. So now I have my Twitch follower count sitting out here under followers, and it's just the Twitch count. We're going to need to drop in the... we're going to need to put in the Mixer reference here to get them as well. Thanks for your help, guys. I really appreciate that. I would have been lost without it. But what I'm going to do to make sure that this doesn't get persisted and saved with it, I'm going to move my Twitch settings out into... I'm going to move all of these into user secrets so they don't get saved and bounce around, and I can move that client ID also. So I'm going to save that so that's out there, and what I actually put into source control, I'm going to empty these. So now the user secrets should be loading up, and it should continue to work and use that correctly. So user secrets are a feature of ASP.NET Core that allow you to put configuration settings, those private values, somewhere else, and then reference those, use those without committing them into source control. And then eventually you'll load them from environment variables or from some other configuration location. I need to stop this breakpoint here. So there's that, and there's that's working as well. Fantastic. So we've got that working. And it looks like everything stops and cleans up properly too. Okay. Where do we go from here? What's next? Am I making those calls properly? I feel like, do I need to regenerate my client ID since I've now littered that and put it across the web for everybody to see? Right? That's coming out of this thing here, right? I think client ID is okay, but my client secret here, right? I don't want to hide. I don't care about the client ID, right? The client secret is the one that I'm concerned about. Bruno, this is looking amazing. Thanks, Bruno. I appreciate the compliment. So I'm going to just hide this for right now. It is 12:15. What do you think? Should I go over and try and connect into Mixer and see what we can do to pull information out of Mixer now? Or they used to call it Beam, right? Beam. What do we think? We still have a pretty good viewership out here. I think we can reach into Mixer and start pulling some of that data out. What do you think? 3V confirms that client ID is fine to share. Good. Yeah, I thought there was the client secret was going to be what's concerned. What shouldn't be shared. So I'm going to go back to my source control over here. Let me do a git status. You know what, that test project, I didn't do anything with it yet, but I don't want it out here mucking things up just yet. So I'm going to delete the unit test that was created as part of that. Resave everything. And now I will add those new features. So let's just commit these. So I've got this pinned that says, here's the rest of this. DJ Vortex, enjoy the rest of the stream. Gotta drop. Thanks for joining us, DJ Vortex. You'll see the wrap up later on. Controllers, and then the followers controller. And then let me make sure I add the new service. Now that we know how to do that. So that was pretty cool that we learned how to do that. And then we'll worry about adding Yeah, I'll add it in. And then git commit am, not -a -m. Now reading Twitch followers and using settings for Twitch client. That was easy. Let's do a git push. Yep, we got to set that upstream so that it gets into my source control. So stream services integration. And cool. All right, so I have that out there now. So now let's pivot and let's look at our friends over on Mixer and see if we can figure out how to pull the same data from there, get their follower count, and then I can make my controller the ever complicated that. And you know what? I feel like current follower count, somebody was saying that should be there should be an interface there. I think you're right. We need a simple interface for that. Nah, not yet. But I do want a Mixer service out here. So I'm going to create another service. I'm just going to go to the bottom of my Twitch service file here. And I'm going to call this a Mixer service. And it will be another I-hosted service. And I'm going to just move my cursor over the Mixer service there and say implement interface. Yeah, that looks right. Cool. I'm going to do that one more time. And I'm going to choose move type to another file. It's gone from here, but it's over in Mixer service. Fantastic. All right. Now, our friends who worked on TwitchLib, thanks so much, team. You know that this looks a heck of a lot easier to use. Let's see if your our colleagues on who work with Beam or Mixer, if they've got one available for us to add their service as well, or if I'm going to write this by hand. So let's look for Mixer. Unofficial Mixer Chat API, Mixer Client, Ratchet Audio Mixer is a library of Ratchet Project, C# client library for the Mixer streaming service, and it's only got 900 downloads. This is coming from Savior X Tanrin. Are there any Mixer folks? Any of the Mixer developer evangelists, developer advocates on the chat that might be able to point me in the right direction of which one's the correct one? If I do Beam, is there a Beam one here? I'm still looking at the same one here from Michael Ferry. But it's called Mixer Client. That looks... Yeah, Mixer brings up so much audio stuff. You're right, 3V. And you know what? He doesn't... There's no... There's no... what's it called? There's no project URL there. But if I go back, if I look at Mixer Client, it's that same Michael Ferry guy again. This one from Matthew Olivo, looks a little bit further along here. Let's take a look at his project. C# client library for the Mixer streaming service. Unsatisfied with the current set of APIs, I took time to build and design an API set. How do I get started using it? Just install it. Okay. What features do we have? What documentation do you have here for me? Savior? Sure. Samples. Console WPF. Sure. Interactive sample. Program? What do we have? Connecting to Mixer. Connect via localhost OAuth browser. All right. Oh, app settings, client ID. Okay, okay. Scopes. Oh, he's got scopes you got to pass around. Where did scopes come from? It's just a list of OAuth client scope. Okay, so he's specifying information, channel, details, self. Okay, good. Get user, get current user. Okay. I think we can work with this. Documentation. Yes. Always a plus to have documentation. Let's see. All right. So I'm going to try using Savior X Tenrin's Mixer Client Sharp here. Let's see what we can do with that. So I will install this for this project. The folks on the NuGet team have done a lot of work to make this install a heck of a lot faster. Kudos to them. They're really doing a lot of work over there to make that happen. Thank you, NuGet team, for your work on speeding that up. That's a real pain in the neck for some people, especially those folks who aren't in the United States or in Europe or in parts of South America that have really good internet connections. That's great stuff to have for us. So I'm going to register that service once again, just like we did over here with the Twitch service. So let's call this, I'm just going to call it MXR equals new mixer service. We should probably pass in the configuration to that. Services, add singleton, hosted service, MXR, good. And then services, add singleton, MXR, there we go. Now it's telling me that this constructor doesn't exist. Make it. I did a control dot there and it made it. 3V, NuGet is nice. A little bit of background, I used to be the NuGet program manager about 2 years ago. So it's a nice application. They as NuGet has moved into becoming more and more of the center of the .NET universe. Just as NPM, you can't do anything with Node unless you use NPM. NuGet is moving in the same way. And at the time that I took over NuGet, there was half the folks that were managing the .NET framework thought NuGet was kind of this sidecar, this way to add in open source projects and things. And as .NET Core became more and more of a thing, it became clear that NuGet needed to be the center of that experience. So I declined and said we need to have somebody a little bit closer to the NuGet team to the .NET team managing this. And I stepped down from managing that project at that time. All right, so I'm now receiving my configuration. So now I can start passing some of that mixer information around from my app settings, but I'm going to need to start getting that. Let me go back to our sample code that we see here on Savior on this site, and he's creating a list of scopes. And I don't want to update. I want to grab just the channel details. So I'm just going to grab this block here, and we'll trim that down. I don't want to put it all in one method in the constructor. I want to move that and actually configure that somewhere else. Or actually, wait a sec. It's just a collection. So let's make it a private static read-only. What was it? It's a list of OF client scope enums. OAuth client scope enum. Scopes equals now new, yes. Alright, let's see if we can clean up some of this. Now, this thing, it doesn't know what this is. Yep, using Mixer. There we go. We gotta make sure we have those collections. No, what doesn't it like? Encapsulate it. No, don't want to encapsulate it. Alright, I am going to drop off all this interactive stuff down here. That's better, looks prettier. Those naming conventions, I'm triggered. I don't blame you, fossils. Yeah, it's... Alright, so now I've got my scopes. Connect via localhost auth browser. Okay. So let's do that. So that feels like what's going to happen in start service. So let's do that here. Alright. Make it a var. Alright. Check that out. Configuration Manager app settings. Weren't we just looking at that earlier? This is one of those. So this is a task. I don't want to dot result it. I want to await it. Now, instead of Configuration Manager, not all code paths return a value. I know. Hang on. There. All right. Await mixer connection. Connect via. Configuration Manager doesn't exist. Oh, the underscore naming conventions. Yeah. What can you do? All right. So the channel is over here, but I don't think it wants the client ID. All right. So it looks like I need a client ID. That's better. When I get my client ID, I'll fill it in, but I'm going to change this now to... Nope. Oh, I don't want it to be that. I want it to be... Come on, I'm F2ing. There we go. That's better. So I want it to be configuration. All right, and I'm going to be going... what was it? Stream services, colon, mixer, client ID. Now, the await operator cannot be used with an async. It's not an async method. What? Connect via localhost auth browser returns a task, and it says it's awaitable. I'm not in an async method. If I put async on here, it's going to break things, isn't it? Yeah. I don't really even need that, do I? Okay. So there's my connection. Okay, so now I have a mixer connection. All right, what's the next step over here? Reading through this sample. All right, result, channels, get channel, user, username, result. Okay, so it looks like I can get that. But I need to get a user. Buttons, joysticks. On participant join or participant leave. Well, there it looks like that's where I'm going to be able to... No, are those followers or viewers? All right. Connection users get current user result. Connection. Well, I just want my channel. Channels? Okay, so can I say get channel? Channel name, okay. That's got to be awaited. My channel equals await. Oops. Now if I say my channel dot... Ooh. Swifty Spiffy, thank you. Oh no, Mahasa AP, thank you for the follow. And I see Swifty Spiffy is following now too. Thank you, I appreciate the follow. There it is. Thank you, Steve. You're a little loud over there. You're at about a 10. I needed it about a 3. All right. Not online. Not viewers total. I want the followers. And I don't see followers here. Is it audience? That's a string. Loud and sweaty Steve. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know why it I don't know why that... Oh, there we go. Look at that. Num followers. An unsigned int. Fantastic. So let's... Alright, so I'm going to want a... private static int. Well, channel follower count. Is that what I called it? I want it to be the same name. Current follower count. Okay. And then public int current follower count. And the get is just going to return that static field. Cool. So then I should be able to just say current follower count equals that, and it's going to want me to do a conversion there. Cool. And I'm not connected there. I'm not staying connected. Gotta appreciate Steve's enthusiasm, though. He really does love developers. So, you're right, random dude. I've actually, I haven't met the man personally, but I've been told that he does. He's actually a very funny guy. He's very outgoing, very boisterous, and he does love developers. He understands that, unlike some other companies, developers and their support really are what make ecosystems go. And the developer involvement, the number of apps that are in the iPhone App Store and the Google Play Store really make those products, right? So, I'm just going to return from this. Task.completed task. Cool. All right. So I should be getting my value there. Now, I do need a client ID, right? So, I am signed up for Mixer's, for their dev program. So let me go over to devmixer.com. I don't want to build a chat bot, an interactive integration. Talk to our RESTful API. Yes, please. Writing the code. Get Node.js and NPM. Feels bad. I want C#. REST API reference. Hit us up on Gitter. I'm over here on your own service. Say hello to me over here. Please. Here we go. So Fritz stats. Recommended size. I don't know. No. Applications? Let's create one. Name. Fritz Rundown. Website. GitHub com C# Fritz Fritz.rundown hosts localhost. Your client will be issued and must use a secret key. This should be checked only if your client can keep the key a secret. I don't need one just yet. There's my client ID. I will copy it. I hope that copied it. Alright. So let me go into secrets. Client ID. That's not it. It's not copying. Hey, Mixer friends, that's not copying. And it won't... Oh my god, look at how long it is. And it won't let me copy it either. I'll show you. F12. Inspector. It says that's an input. Input 7. Teach you to block me from getting at this. Document, get element by ID. Yeah, I thanks. Pain in my neck. Undefined? Ha! Oh, look at all the angular all over. Look at the angular! Ha ha! Yeah. How am I going to get that value out of there? Because I really don't want to copy it. And this is doing nothing. This console is meant to be used by developers. No duh. Oh, look at this. Thanks. Join us, careers. I'd like this to work. How am I going to get that value? How am I going to get that value? Because it's clear there's more in there. That's going to be a pain in the neck to copy. Let's see if it works in Chrome. Okay, applications. Copied. So it just doesn't work in Firefox. Feels bad, man. Somebody take a note on that one. That's, The fact that it works in Chrome only means it's also not going to work in Internet Explorer. Alright, so Mixer service. So we now have a client ID. Let's see if we get something out of this. Put a breakpoint there. Followers, controller. Oh gosh, I need to receive my Mixer service now. And this dot Mixer service equals Mixer. Let's create that as a read-only property. Fantastic. All right. What do you think? Do you think we got it? Mixer's dev site is finicky. If you have a Mixer login page using all of the scopes, the page is it's completely broken. Burke Derp. Nice. Nice. Alright. And you're right, Joe Bun. I have to use Chrome for my dialogue, for my management of the dashboard there on Mixer. It does feel bad. So here we go. So there's... Alright, the app's running. Now, I think I registered everything properly over here. So here we go, making my connection. So let's see what happens. I hit F11. Look at this! Did it actually work? Oh my gosh. I think. I don't like that it opened a browser and it forced me to confirm. So it was 154 was the number that we were seeing over on Just Twitch. I've got my Mixer folks coming in now, and I've got a solid number that is the combination of the two. Fantastic. That's exactly what I was looking for. I'm not going to get the updates because I don't have the event wired up to notify me when these things are going to come in yet. But I'm really happy that I was able to just get that simple calculation so that it's not just the 156 we have up there, but now it's the total of the two. So it's good. Yes. Thank you, Fossils. So here's where do I want to go from here? Do I need to tune my Mixer service? Can I do my channel? Can I set up an event to listen to like I did in the other one? No. Can I do that on the connection? No. Is it interactive? There's got to be a way to do that. Even if I do a timer here and I just listen and I update that on my own, I feel like I'm in a good place. But I think for right now, I want to stop where I am right there because we're actually about 45 minutes over where I wanted to stop today. But I'm pretty happy with how easy this was for me to get this running. Let me just refactor this real quick into a different method, and I'll just call it connect to Mixer. Okay, so now I've got that separated from the actual start and stop of the method there. I'm using Alt Up to move that block up and down in Visual Studio. But I'm pretty happy. I've got Mixer connecting and running that properly. Let me do a git status here. Let's add that. Services, Mixer service, and let me commit that. Added the ability to get to read Mixer followers. Cool. Fantastic. All right. You know what? I'm gonna wrap things up there today because I think there's still some things we want to do to make Mixer a little bit more interactive there, and then we can look at actually embedding that number in OBS, and we'll do some work directly in OBS with that next time. Something that I want to do before we come on the next stream on Tuesday, I'm going to spend a little bit of time here with Karnak keys. And I'm going to do this off stream because I'm not a WPF person, but I grabbed a copy of Karnak. So this is Karnak keys. This allows you to put to show what hotkeys you're using in the corner of the screen. I use a lot of hotkeys during this, and I want to make sure that you can see them, and it becomes a little bit easier to track what it is that I'm doing while I'm working here on the stream without me having to call it out every time. So I'm going to see what I can do to fix this. It doesn't work quite well with 2 screens, so I'll get that squared away for next time. Thanks so much for joining me. I really appreciate everybody tuning in today. We had a lot of folks join in on both Mixer and on Twitch. Let me know what you think, if I should be doing, what time of day works good for you. Oh, Swifty Spiffy, you're the guy who owns Twitch Lib. Oh my gosh, now it makes sense. Let me know what you think of the times that I'm hosting this here in the morning, or if I should do an evening stream. I really appreciate everybody joining in here today. Thanks so much. I'll see you on Tuesday morning for another stream. No board is what you've been using for keyboard visualization. Cool. We'll check that out. No board. Ah, look at that. But it's showing your whole keyboard. I just want to show the hotkeys that you're hitting. That's not bad. I'll take a look and figure out which one we want to use here, but I'll have that wired up for next time, alright? I'll see you then. Thanks a lot.